Welcome back. Today we are going to show you how to make this pile of wood. No, that's not right. Cutting boards. We're going to make these three with walnut, maple, purple heart, cherry, and bloodwood. You're not required to use these more expensive types of woods. Just any variation can turn out great, give you a little pop of color and style in a board. So if you want to see me make these and learn how to make a jig to put feet on, stick around. Welcome back to Brown's Woodworking, where we have no idea how to record the audio for a video and have to redo it 3 times to figure out how to unmute the microphone. That said, we're going to move on. Here we're just rough cutting some lumber. We'll fine tune it later. Once you've got all your boards rough cut, we're going to run them through the jointer, the wide edge first. We do this because if you run the short edge first, when you turn it up on its side to get a 90-degree parallel surface or perpendicular surface, you'll only have like an inch of reference surface against the fence, and it'll be a lot harder to get an actual 90-degree reference there. Here I'm just deciding which edge I want to run through, making sure my jointed face is against the fence. If you got any cupping on your board, you'll want to make sure it cups upwards towards the center of the board in the middle. That way the two edges are still touching the table. If it bows the other direction, you're going to end up wasting a lot of material trying to get that other edge 90 degrees to the one side, and then you'll end up kind of with a triangle piece almost. And as soon as you've got all your boards jointed, we can put the wide face that was jointed down on the planer bed and run them all through the planer. If you want to avoid some extra hassle that you'll see here later in the video, I would suggest making them all a uniform thickness. Otherwise, they're going to be different heights, and it could make the glue up a little more difficult. And you end up wasting extra material. After we're done with all that, we can move on to the table saw, and you'll want to make sure that your jointed edge is against the fence. If you don't do that, your glue lines, not your glue lines, what am I talking about? The edges that you put together to glue may not be perfectly flat, and you will not have a very good glue joint. A tip I can give you here is when you're designing your board, use a little bit of varying widths in the boards. Just gives it a little extra style, a little interest. The other reason I'm ripping these so small is because I can't handle a big wood. I need a smaller wood. After you have all your strips cut out, we can move on to laying out the board designs. I did cheat here. I did pre-design these using a website, Cutting Board Designer. It's a free website. You can go on there, design your boards, put in the different species and even the costs if you like, and then just kind of play around with the placement and the sizes to get a board that you like. Some of the advanced features will show you how to make some more advanced designs such as like a brick layout or a fade, things of that nature. And if you're going to sell these, you can use that cost feature to figure out what your actual cost on the board was, so that you know what you should be selling those for. Now that we have all our designs laid out, we're going to get ready to glue them up. Ooh. Now I'm just unscrewing these clamps, getting them ready for the glue up. Parents, if there's any children watching, you'll want to have them leave the room in a few minutes because I am going to be doing a lot of screwing. Make sure when you glue these up that you don't skimp on the glue. If you don't put enough glue on there, you'll end up with a joint that doesn't hold very well and may end up pulling apart as water and stuff gets down into the crack, especially if you get like juices from the meats you put on it that soak down in there. It could end up splitting it open or whatever. So you want to make sure you put enough glue on there, and then don't overdo the pressure on the clamps. You may see me crank a couple of them down, but I do end up backing them off just a little bit. And don't be afraid to get all that white stuff on your finger. It's fine, you can wipe it back off. After you're done gluing everything up, we can run over to the jointer and clean everything up. Word of advice, if you can, scrape the glue drips out, preferably before they dry, but scrape them off before you run it through the planer. Otherwise you may end up with kind of a sideways angled board when you run it through, and it could make the top and bottom surfaces no longer parallel to each other. Now I'm just trimming them till their final lengths here on the table saw sled. Let me know down in the comments if you want to see a build video on a new table saw sled. Now we're just going to make a quick and dirty jig to put the feet on the bottoms of these cutting boards. Here I'm just using a scrap of actually treated 1x4 and a couple of strips of offcuts of the edge of a 2x4. Anything you have will work. All you need is like a 3x3 or 4x4 square of wood and a couple of strips to mark as reference edges. And then all you're going to do is figure out your placement for your foot, measure that so you can determine where to drill your hole. Drill a hole where you want that to be, and then you can just glue and attach on two edges at that same corner some reference pieces so that you can just put the jig down, slide it up until it touches on both sides, and then you're good to go to put your feet on. And here at supersonic speed you can see the jig in motion. I'm sorry, I said supersonic speed. 1 second. Supersonic speed. Nearing the end here, we are going to just round over all the edges. You can do any profile you want. I normally do a chamfer, a 45-degree chamfer, but I do also like the look of the rounded over edge. I do both sides just to give a little bit of a shadow line at the bottom of the board as well. Off camera, I did sand everything up to 220. I do find that straight off the planer, they're usually good enough to start at 120, and then I jump up to 180, and then finally 220, making sure to wet down the board before at least that last sanding, so you can pre-raise that grain up. That way, the first time you or your customer uses that board, it doesn't get all fuzzy. And as soon as they're all oiled, I do also add a coat of my homemade board wax. You can make your own. If anybody's interested, I'll make a video on how to make that. I got my recipe and my inspiration from another YouTube video, but I'll be happy to share that with you. So just let me know down in the comments. And finally, the last step, putting on the feet on the bottom. This is optional. I prefer to put feet on there just because the boards do slide around, especially if they're finished very well. But if you're going to be selling these, I would definitely make that an option for your customer. They may not want the feet. They may want a double-sided surface. So you can do it with or without, but if you're going to sell it, I would suggest giving them the option. Maybe it can be an upsell opportunity. And that's all there is to it. Congratulations everybody who finally made it to the end of this video. Hopefully you were able to learn something today. These are not advanced designs by any means, but hopefully you can see that with just a little bit of variation in the species of wood and the thicknesses of the cuts that you put together, you can make a very beautiful board with fairly low effort. So with all that said, I've got a shop to clean because I made a mess, so I'll catch you on the next one.